court. You can call a judge and tell him kiss my ass, cause I ain't gon' budge. And I ain't going back to lock up. You're trying to clock a pop up. I ain't going back to broke, and I'm never gonna stop the puffin'. Not for nothing. The block, they need me. The streets, they need me. The club scene, nigga, it's mine, believe me. You don't believe me? Can't be touched, can't be stopped, can't be moved, can't be rocked, can't be shook. We
Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 460 of the Orange Pill Investor. Today's probably not the happiest day for the world, or for the United States, I guess. But I think we are seeing the canary in the mine for Bitcoin's use case. And that was probably one of the best worst songs in history. That's Roy Jones Jr., who's might be the most exciting boxer to ever live, not named Mike Tyson. And I hope it's not time to fight, but it might just be. So, of course, this is not financial advice, but NFA actually stands for not fucking around. And this isn't even going to be a political thing, because feds on the streets in U.S. cities, may be fine if whoever you like is in charge, but these powers do not just go away when the guy that you like isn't in charge. So I hope you got your seed phrase ready. I hope you've got your your cold storage ready so that you can sneak out of the fucking shithole city or state or country that you live in and find someplace quiet and safe to go to. For people who think that I might be a little bit over the top, check your everybody says, oh, do you know your history? And I am a supporter of my fellow vets. However, I think that anybody who thinks that U.S. troops would disobey unlawful orders and enforce martial law or go door to door, house to house, are a little bit naive. It wasn't even like ancient history when the United States military was actually used against its own veterans. So check the bonus war if you're interested. World War I vets wanted their bonuses that they were, was it the bonus army? Anyway, they were promised some benefits after World War I. They wanted their money. They suffering through the Great Depression and all of that, and they rolled fucking tanks against this veteran encampment. So if you don't think the U.S. military will be used against citizens and they would use them against their own veterans, I think you got another thing coming. Hate to be a little bit doom and gloom, end of days kind of orange pill investor today, but what was the other thing that I wanted to say about that? Maybe it'll come to me. So yeah, I'm into these Bitcoin treasury companies for the gains, but some people are like, okay, I'm just gonna sell all my Bitcoin, and I'm gonna go. I think, what was it? Even what's that fucking guy that got the stock to flow model? Whatever the hell that guy's name is. I think he sold all his Bitcoin, and he's just all like an all IBIT or something, which for the physical security kind of makes sense, right? If you don't want to have to be carrying at all times and learn open hand martial arts skills and have like armed security following you around or whatever, which you know, that actually costs a lot of money. So I know we say, it doesn't cost anything for us to self-custody our Bitcoin, but that's bullshit. It's not just the responsibility of keeping your seed phrase safe. Um, you gotta manage your personal security. And I hope one day that I don't actually regret going public and putting my face on the video. I don't know if that's an expression of ego that I wanted to have my face out there, but hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. I'm nowhere near like a huge influencer at this point, but there was that case of those Bitcoin influencers, the guy and the girl that did their little shows or whatever, and it wasn't it wasn't like a super sophisticated attack, but it also wasn't just like some crackheads or anything. But they got attempted to be robbed at gunpoint, and the only thing that drove them off was the guy having his weapon close by. The girl actually got kind of roughed up, I think, and so I think they had gates and everything. It doesn't people can just hop over gates, right? So um, this shit is real, and um, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So I can't remember which podcaster I heard it from, but it was someone who either followed, maybe he was, some former general or just somebody talking about this kind of stuff. But armies are not usually prepared for the next war. They're only prepared to fight the wars that they fought most recently. And so what is the US military good at right now? They're not good at what Russia's doing, right? Russia fought a war in Ukraine. Okay, they took territory. They rolled in with the infantry and we did that back in Gulf War, right? We had shock and awe and we just rolled through frickin' Iraq like it was nothing. But for the last 30 years, the only thing that we've been good at is fighting insurgent wars. And if we are rotating out of fighting insurgencies in foreign countries because it's going to bankrupt us, that military does not stop wanting to use its skills. What was it? I can't remember who said, you may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. And so the U.S. military is good at fighting insurgencies. That's what all of the soldiers know how to do. That's what all the officers know how to do. That's what all the generals know how to do. So they will be looking for another insurgency war to fight. And conveniently enough, it would not surprise me if they just go ahead and create the conditions inside this country so they would have a convenient insurgency war to fight on our own shores. So I hope you got your shit hits the fan plan ready. Mine is woefully not as fully developed as I hoped it would be. So this stuff is kind of sneaking up on me, unfortunately. You can call it prepping, you can call it whatever the hell you want, but looks like shit's getting real. And when Social Security goes defunct and all the social services can't be paid for and they're printing money, nobody can afford, no one has jobs because everybody lost their job to AI. There's going to be a bunch of unhappy motherfuckers in the streets, and they're going to be looking around at somebody to blame. And the Bitcoiners are going to be the most positioned financially. So be prepared to just completely keep that shit a secret and just pretend to be broke, or go somewhere where eyes can't figure out that you're the only one that's not living paycheck to paycheck or living from stimulus check to stimulus check. It doesn't do us any good to have a big fat stack of Satoshis if we get caught up in some kind of zombie riot. I don't mean literal zombies. I just mean like hordes of hungry, pissed off, disenfranchised people. Maybe we get to UBI one day. I'm not even a UBI person, but at some point, if we've got 20 billion robots tilling, picking the fruit and the vegetables, and I don't know, 4 billion men running around this world with no purpose, shit could get way worse before it gets better. What is it? Hard times create, was it good men? Good men create good times create soft men create hard times. I don't know if we're already in the hard times or if we're about to see harder times, but I think the number one goal has to be surviving the fourth turning and getting you and your family into the good times. Bitcoiners are going to be well positioned to thrive in all of those scenarios, but stay away from communist hellholes, places where motherfuckers might want to drive into a crowd of people. There's gonna be a lot of crazy shit happening. So not the alarmist episode that I was looking to record today, but might be necessary. So with that being said, we'll check the chats and see if there's any spicy takes, and then we'll take a look at the market. But it's, nothing as major is happening. We're a little down today, but it's really not a big deal. What's up, Buffalo? What's up, Kevin? Noble says, wise words, mate. I appreciate that. Everyone thinks the then they fight you stage is over. Oh, yeah. There is plenty of fight left. And to a certain extent, like, I'm still confident that Bitcoin wins, but the fiat system is going to attack Bitcoin and probably is already attacking Bitcoin. I think the most obvious attack is Bitcoin Core and the whole spam filters issue. Obviously Matthew Kratter, Bitcoin Mechanic have been very vocal on this topic. Plenty of other people on X as well. And it might be time for Bitcoin treasury companies to set their nuts on the table and have an opinion. I know that some Tesla investors get pissed off when Elon Musk gets political or has some kind of spicy take on a particular subject, but I'm not sure if it's enough for Bitcoin treasury companies to just stack sats and like if the sats become worthless, what does your Bitcoin yield mean? That you just stacked a bunch of useless fucking a bunch of useless bytes on a blockchain somewhere. Plan B. Thank you. Thanks, strategy dude. That's exactly who I was thinking about. Thanks, Grit. Oh my god, everybody knows it but me. Thanks, Paul. Grit says, look poor, stay rich. Put that on my fucking gravestone. Not that I'll have a gravestone. Noble says the envy stage hasn't started yet, not even close. Absolutely. It's a little bit of a scary future. Let's see. Grit says, find a chunk of land with water and hunker down if possible. Yeah. I know some friends who have found some plots in some fairly rural places, and I might have to do something similar. Especially, I think they were talking about rolling out troops to some of the other major cities too, right? Didn't they call out like Chicago, Baltimore, which would be hitting a little bit close to home? They could probably just turn the Second Amendment loose and let people defend their own private property without threat of persecution or prosecution or both. But centralized power likes to continue to centralize power. So hopefully Bitcoin fixes this, but we got to make sure that we continue to fix the Bitcoin so Bitcoin can fix everything else. So I'm a little bit on my anti-shitcoiner, anti-spam kick of late. I got my Start9 node running knots, and I was patting myself on the back for getting that done, but I've got one more step because apparently my router I don't think is forwarding port 8333. So my node isn't a listening node, meaning I guess that means I'm not receiving transactions from other nodes. Like my node would potentially help me out if I wanted to use my own personal node. But I'm not really being fully represented on the system. So I need to get that figured out. If it was my own personal router, I would be way more confident to just go to their website and check. But since it's Verizon's router, now I'm like, okay, is that going to screw up something with my internet service? So that's just one more time sink to add to my fucking to-do list. But I will get that done. I do think it's cool to have the node running and make it a listening node. So I guess I'm kind of doing it, but I'm not really, I can't be counted in the list. And I think Knots went up to 16% market share of nodes, which is great. But yeah, I need to get that last little step done before I really can say mission accomplished, I think, with the node thing. And Paul says, amen. It reminds me of something interesting too. Keep this in mind. I mean, we don't necessarily all have to go it alone as well. Balaji Srinivasan has this theory about the network state, and that there may be pseudo states formed around certain networks, and clearly Bitcoin is the most powerful network on the planet right now. So I would like nothing more than to see communities sprouting up all around the country of like primarily Bitcoiners. I think that would be badass. And maybe we'll even have like a True North town somewhere. Buffalo says your node just has outbound connections only. It's not a huge deal. Okay, good to know. Of course my login expired. Here you can just stare. You can stare at my little grok search around the bonus army while I log in. In case you thought I was bullshitting. All right, cool. I'm pretty sure this is just going to be checking and doing nothing. So I sold these 12 days ago when I think the price of Treasury was around 375. Right after earnings, it had kind of crashed down a little bit. And so, yeah, there's kind of like nothing to see here. These haven't decayed even a little bit. So I'm gonna have to at least hold these for one more week before I think it makes sense to try to roll them for any type of credit. The Labor Day, I think, is the beginning of September. And so if we start to see a post-summer pump like we did last year, there's no like guarantee that we get this seasonal cyclic activity again, right? But maybe. So yeah, last September we had sell in May and go away, and then boom, right on cue, we started grinding, and then we got the blow off top. So that would be kind of cool if we saw a nice September, October grind and a blow off top. And maybe, like, what's the timing on the S&P 500 catalysts? You know, maybe we get acceptance and that's the spark that turns the grind into a blow off top. The bad news that I think I have about strategy as it relates to, you know, the ratio that people like to follow, and every time that we don't get like at least a dollar for dollar, you know, plus move against IBIT, people start freaking out. So I've seen screenshots of this, like strategies barely up over IBIT year to date. And you can't really accuse anyone of cherry picking this number because this is just a standard, you know, a standard range, right? Year to date, right? Nobody's like literally just picking the worst possible time frame. However, you have to look and see that January 1st was just a month, 5 weeks after the blow off top. So like this is all correction territory here for strategy. So it is and it isn't cherry picking, right? Because all you got to do is go back just a little bit more, you know, an extra 4 months and go back a year. If you just zoom out 4 more months, now we're looking at 194% returns to IBIT's 105% returns, which is, you know, pretty close to 2x. So no, you know, whatever story you want to tell yourself that strategy is better than Bitcoin or strategy is falling behind Bitcoin, you can zoom in and tell yourself whatever story you want, right? You can say that strategy's only up 3% this week and IBIT's up 7%. What gives? What's wrong with the stock? And I think, you know, yes, we were having a whatever, like a 7-8 month correction from this blow off top. But I think, and I said it last night on my interview with Tim, and I'll probably mention it again tonight on True North, is that the preferreds are going to take some time to ramp up, right? The convertible bonds were a pain in the ass, but they were, you know, they were accretive and it was like big chunks. I mean, you knew you were just going to be able to smash by, you know, a billion and a half, 2 billion. And the preferreds have not reached that scale yet. So they can hammer away at the preferred ATMs as hard as they possibly can. And it's not going to just, it's not going to just like have Bitcoin flying off the shelves. So that's going to take some time to ramp up that refining. You know, if strategies are refining facility for crude oil or for crude fiat conversion into Bitcoin, those production facilities are not to scale yet. They're just like, you know, the production lines are still pretty slow. So does it even reach? Are they able to even reach their target leverage ratio before the bear market comes? I don't know. So we've been pretty patient all year, but outside of a Bitcoin pump itself, I would never promise anything anyway, but I can't be terribly optimistic that we will see the implied vol return until the preferreds are like really chugging along. So it may end up being one of those gradually then suddenly. I know it's been said way too many times. I hope we get another November before the end of the year. I would love to see another one of these, but I just don't know. I will be looking for any excuse to dump all of this leverage before the end of the year. Long calls, long calls, long calls, long calls, long calls, long calls. All of these bad boys gotta go. Maybe January at the latest if I want to push the taxes to the 2026 tax year, like these Januaries. But I know Saylor likes to say that winter's not coming, but what does that even mean? Like, nobody controls Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin bear market returns, there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. Now, strategies preferreds may be sophisticated enough, not necessarily to stimulate the a high MNAV or a pump the implied vol like I would like to see, but they might be sophisticated enough to defend strategies MNAV during the Bitcoin's bear market. That remains to be seen. But since this is the first potential bear market that we will be entering with these products in place, we're all going to be learning at the same time. So we can come out here and say what we think is the price. They'll be able to defend the price, but that's all just kind of conjecture, and the actual proof we're going to find out real quick. And so I don't mind risking some shares in that environment, but I'll be damned if I own any of these leveraged positions going into a potential bear market. So it remains to be seen. That's going to be the most thought that I probably put into my portfolio over the next 4, 5, 6 months is how, what to rotate these leverage positions into. This is 20 times 20 or times 2,000. It's at 40 grand. Anyway, whatever the hell these are worth, I mean, hopefully, I would like to at least break even on these damn things after holding them for a year. I did sell a few covered calls against these, so it's not a complete disaster. But it'd be nice to be able to make some money off these 1080s for once as well. Please, K, thanks. Market gods, if you're listening. Yeah, so I don't mind holding shares. Shares don't have an expiration date, so if I got a diamond hands through the next bear market with shares and selling covered calls every week, that would be fine. But I will not be buying any long calls that expire in 2026, 2027. I'll be waiting until 2026, 2027 to hopefully rotate some Tesla gains back into maybe some strategy long calls at that point. But it's going to be an interesting 18 months on the True North space, because we're all bulled up and it's the bull market, so it's kind of easy. But if Bitcoin goes up to 200 and crashes down to 125, and strategy goes up to whatever 1,200 a share and then crashes to fucking 600 and stays there for 18 months. Oh my god. What's the irresponsibly long strategy community going to look like for 18 months of just chop? We barely can talk ourselves off the fucking ledge. You know, pre-split, this would have been a $4,000 a share. It's still at almost 4,000 a share. But because it's been chopping for 9 months, we're all like on the ledge, ready to frickin' jump off because our bags haven't been pumped to 1K, 2K, whatever bulled up fucking moon math we got in the spreadsheet. So yeah, the sentiment on X and stuff, I mean, whew, it was pretty brutal down here. And even here there's a bunch of people who are pretty salty, right? You know, comparing the IBIT to strategy ratio. Imagine seeing this chart for all of 2026 and like half of 2027. We got some fun times ahead, y'all. All right. I mean, there should be plenty to talk about. I can't imagine strategy would go through that entire stretch not adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet. So probably always something to talk about. I'm kind of betting that they'll have 2 to 6 more preferred offerings rolled out. So won't be any shortage of things to discuss, but if we chop for like 18 for like 18 months, just getting bulled up for the next cycle, that is a marathon of diamond handsing and trying to remain optimistic. Buffalo says we have the space here in Denver. Pretty awesome community, tons of events every month. No shit. Filled that gap at 384, up only now. Bears out in full force recently, gives me hope. Yeah, that's one good thing about bears. They can be counted on for bottom signal. Let's see. Seen any of the talk of a flight from strategy to strife? Dan and Josh seem to think it is possible. I've seen a couple of posts along those lines. I don't know if I'm fully up to date on them. There's just too much on X to keep track of. Flight from strategy to strife. Even if there was, would it matter? Because strategy would just plow. Yeah, I know they're big on STRF being at the top of the capital stack, and because if we're always talking about sats per share, we talk about that from the common shareholder point of view, but the STRF holders have a higher right to those sats. But like that's doomsday scenario. So yeah, I'm not real sure what the effect would be of 20% of retail exiting their strategy positions and then plowing that into STRF. I mean, if STRF and if we get a couple of rate drops in the Fed rate, that could pump Strife's price, and that's kind of like best case scenario for strategy anyway, would be for STRF to pump. They would be able to hammer the ATM on the preferreds way harder if Strife's, I don't know, 200, 300, 400 a share, something ridiculous. I think fair value at current Fed rate is probably 200 a share. And if rates come down, it just goes up from there. Yeah, I'd have to look at the torques and see what the torque of the you know, I don't know if Strife or the common ATM, which one is more accretive to the Bitcoin yield. So I'm not sure. It could be some short-term pain for the strategy price, I suppose, but in the long game, all of that goes right back into Bitcoin, which should, all of that extra volatility that the common shareholder is willing to accept should end up in the long run having higher gains. But that could be 5, 10, 15, 20 years out. There could be some forces at work early because STRF and then the other preferreds are so cheap because they haven't been around for very long. But once they gain acceptance, their prices could get pushed in the early adoption phase quicker than strategy's price itself. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't own any of the preferreds yet. So if we get a move to like $1,000 a share, I would consider moving into the STRC, for example. But I don't know. Maybe I should be thinking about Strife. Feels like Bitcoin treasuries create excitement to pump their MNAV and then scalp it and brag about stacking. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, they're thinking MSTR goes to 0 and Strife basically takes place of the common. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like they're thinking it should go to 0, or like what percentage chance that it goes to 0? I'll have to ask Dan maybe about it, what he thinks. Maybe he'll talk about it tonight. Who knows? All right. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Nothing to see here. These are not ready to roll. Nothing's really ready to. Well, these are close to being ready to roll because I put these on just 2 days ago at the top when strategy was at like 405 ish. So I might end up taking these off in reverse order that I put them on. That would be fun. So if this gets down to like 6 something, maybe I'll take this one off. I still keep clicking that button wrong. Tesla will probably be where all of my leveraged positions get converted to. Not ready to roll. Not ready to roll. Strategy's not ready to roll. Yeah, nothing to do here. I don't think there's going to be much action today. If strategy was up to 425, 450 or something, I'd probably add another covered call. But since it's just hanging around, I don't think I have any. Oh, I'm still trading. Yeah, I don't have any buying power to speak of here. And not ready to roll. All right, the former challenge account. I've been pretty aggressive with the weekly calls. So maybe that will continue. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah. Could argue that I should roll this or maybe close them. they're worth less than 50% of what I sold them for, and there's 50% of the time left. So let's just do that. Damn it. I think I have a little bit of buying power here because I didn't reinvest the cash from these. So I might actually even have the buying power to just close these and not have to adjust any positions. Yeah. So I sold those for whatever, 400 a pop. That was 1,600 bucks, and I bought them back for like 500. That leaves 400 shares uncovered. Now I can either roll those strikes down, right, closer to the expected move and collect some more money, or I can roll them out to 45 days if I want. But maybe I'll just roll 2 of them down and leave 2 uncovered for now. Let's see. So I paid 500 to close them, and I got paid 600 to open 2 more. That leaves 2 of these 100 shares completely uncovered for unlimited upside. The amount of theta that I was able to collect just with those 2 covered calls was enough to put me into a positive net theta state. So I kind of like that. But do I want to move those weeklies out to 45 days? Collecting about 1,200. And if I divide that by 4, if I roll it every 2 weeks, then I would divide this number by 4 to get my average for, weekly average. So that would be about 300 a week with a potential call away value at 445, which is about not 20%, maybe 15% call away. Interesting. Maybe I'll take a gamble that that strategy comes back to life, and I'll put those covered calls back on if they go up. I'll play a little bit of Green Day, Red Day stuff with this account. I think that'll be fine. All right, the 5K account. Are we still holding on to 20 grand? Just by a hair. CLSK call expires Friday. There's only $4 left in it, but I think I only sold it for 11 anyway, so this is fine to just leave on here. Cash secured put that I sold expires Friday. CLSK is trading at what? Ooh, right at 10. So I might get assigned another 100 shares of that. That would be fine. Monday morning, I'll just turn around and sell 2 covered calls on CLSK. Keep the wheel rolling. Uh, 9/12, 4:30 call. Nothing to do there. My other stuff expires on September 19th. Nothing to do there. Yeah, a whole lot of nothing. All right, cool. We'll check chats and then call it a day. All right, we're all caught up. Appreciate everybody tuning in, especially if you were up late last night watching me at 10 o'clock on Tim's digital conference. That was pretty cool. I got to catch up on it. I spent most of the day yesterday prepping for it and kind of practicing and getting my notes together and all of that stuff. So I only saw a handful of interviews yesterday. So I'll walk the dog and watch some of that at 2x speed or something maybe. All right, be good, Joe.